Thanks for tuning in live once again for another Monday night show as we talk golf on the PGA Tour, one of our special shows of the year. It's the Masters 2026. We've been all excited about this opportunity to not only talk about the greatest golf event in the nation, in the world, actually, but also because this gives up the opportunity to talk once again with Hall of Famer Jan Stephenson, who is coming to us live from Australia. How's it going, Jan?
It's going great. It's a beautiful day here today, and I'm actually at the golf course that I grew up on, Shirley Beach Golf Club, and this is where I first started playing golf. And as you can see with the ocean, there was plenty of time to go and surf too. I walk the beach every day, so it's great.
Wow. I mean, that's a life, isn't it? Growing up with that view. That's awesome. So yeah, how far away is that from Melbourne?
A long way from Melbourne. It's a good hour and a half flight.
Okay. And what is the city?
This is called Central Coast. So it's in Shirley Beach, and my family live in Wamberal, which is an Aboriginal name of a small suburb. And it's in the Central Coast. It's just north of Sydney. So it's a beautiful surf town.
Awesome. Anybody watching live have any questions for Jan, just let us know. If you're watching on demand, same thing. I'll forward the questions over to Jan. She'll get back to you in the comments section later on. This gives us an opportunity on a Monday night to hopefully give you guys who are watching more than enough opportunity to digest this before the tournament begins on Thursday. The only bad news is we don't have the tee times or the pairings. I mean, we might have the pairings, but we don't have the tee times yet. I haven't checked the weather either, so I'll try to do that. I don't know if you had time to check the weather, Jan, but I'll see if I could do that while we're doing the show. All right, so a few things, of course, I would like to go over with you. You know what? Let's just get out of the way. We might as well. It's golf. Everybody's talking about it. We've talked about Tiger for many years, so I know your stance on Tiger. None of this surprises you. What's your overall feeling about everything that transpired last week?
Well, they always give Tiger a pass, and it looks like they're going to give him another one. But it just like what Sir Nick Faldo said, it's, a lot of it's his own doing. So unfortunately, that's the way it is. I mean, he's been unlucky that he's had some pretty bad crashes, but they're all were caused by him. So it's they're giving him another, and they'll give him another pass. The PGA, and especially with the president being friends with him, they've overlooked it pretty easily.
Yeah, it is what it is. The only thing I guess fans of Tiger can hope for is that eventually at some point all of this will end and he'll stop driving. All right. So other than that, there will be, again, no Tiger and also no Phil Mickelson. So that's unfortunate that we don't get to see two of the legends who are still able to play golf will not be there. Speaking of injuries, Colin Morikawa comes in with a back injury, and it's not looking too good. I mean, just hearing what his response was earlier today, it's almost sounding like, I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to do my best. I may have to compensate here or there on my swing, or I might have to say, you know what, if there's a specific way or specific shot I want to take, I may not be able to take that now, and I have to go another direction. That's not really what you want to see if you want to take a player, if you're picking him. And that's unfortunate because Colin was probably playing better than anybody else on tour before the injury.
Plus, he's the best second. I think his iron play is probably one of the best. I would say I put him in the top 2 in iron play, which at the Masters at an Augusta National, you've really got to be good with. And he would have been a favorite. And I actually had him a few weeks ago in the one and done, and then he withdrew, and that killed because his iron play was really good. I was with my coach at the time, and we're like, look how good he's swinging. So this is really setting back. I'm surprised it's taking him this long to get over the injury. So he may actually have to have surgery. So he might be out for the season.
Yeah, I actually had him that week too, Jan. So we both got the shaft. But
I
hey,
think they changed that rule. They should, if you withdraw, you should be able to have another second.
Yes, yes, I agree. Okay, so let's take a look at a few other topics before we go into picks and all that other stuff. I want to talk about some of the key trends. Actually, before I move on, speaking of Morikawa's injury, I don't think there's any other injuries out there that I've been myself hearing about, but you're an insider. You know what's going on. Anything else? Any other top players that we should be concerned about with minor dings or maybe personal things going on in their lives? They're going to have another child or anything else that could distract one of these top players going into Augusta this week?
Well, Scotty Scheffler we thought was going to, but he just had his second baby, so that pressure's out of the way. But still, it's very young, and he'll be talking to his wife every single day, and I doubt if she'll be there. And so that's always going to be a little bit of a distraction. I mean, he sees the golf course so well; it fits his game really well because he hits the ball high, and it's very hilly there. But I think with the fact that he's just had a second child, might put a little bit of distraction in there, but once he gets on the golf course, he has an amazing ability to be able to concentrate and focus. So he's still a pretty good contender. And then Xander's had wrist injuries, and so has Ludwig. And I know that they've been able to overcome it lately, but it's always an issue if you get in that pine straw and you hit, you're favoring your wrist. You got to be very careful.
Okay. Yeah, because Ludwig has been playing some really good golf, and he's been really good at Augusta National. It's just that I think the knock that some of us analysts might have on him, and it's not really a knock, it's just experience. And he just seems to have a harder time at this stage of his early career closing in big events. But he's look, he's a talented player, and just for such a young player to be in as many big events that he's been in, it just shows you that he's going to have a hell of a career. And one of these years, could be this year, he's going to break through. But it's pretty unusual for a player to win at Augusta National only on their third attempt, even though I believe the last person that did that was Scotty Scheffler.
Yeah, well, Scotty was an exception to the rule for sure. But the majors and of course Augusta National, you know it backwards that if you've played it a lot, and all of the little nuances that you learn over the years. So it's always been an advantage at that golf course, especially. And the fact that some of the people that have won there that you don't expect to win have come from behind. They've only had the lead in the last couple of holes that they've made a few birdies or something, or an eagle, and to take the lead from overnight for the last day on Sunday, it is really pressure packed.
Yeah, and it's one of those things too. You mentioned coming from behind, and it's great that you, of course, specified you're talking about the last few holes, because one thing that we have learned with the Masters is, matter of fact, here's the actual stat. After the third round, going into the final round, the last 36 winners began the final round in the top 5. That's the last 36, and 31 of the last 36 winners began the final round in the final pairing, with 22 of those 36 beginning the final round with the lead, including 7 of the last 9 winners. Rory, of course, last year held the lead by 2 strokes going into Sunday last year. So, this is not a come-from-behind event going into the day. So if you're not in one of those final pairings, it's so difficult to come from behind. And why do you think that is?
Well, number one, it's an incredible amount of pressure, and the back 9 is such a hard 9. Because you think about it, 10 is a hard hole, you've got 11 is an impossibly hard hole, and then 12 has been a lot of undoing for a lot of players, as you know, because it's an optical illusion. They always put the pin on Sunday in the back right, and we've seen many a player that then have hit it into the water. They've hit it at the pin, which actually, when you get up there and look, I've played that hole quite a few times, and it actually happened in the women's amateur the other day. She was leading the tournament by 3 shots, and she had a quadruple on 12. And you wouldn't think with an 8-iron that it'd be that hard a hole, but it is an optical illusion. And the times that I've seen when Tiger has won there, he's just played left center of the green and not even looked at the pin. and We've seen many a player mess up on that 12th hole. But then after that, you've got 13 is a birdie hole, but there's been plenty of people that have hit it in the water there, and of course 15. So it's the back 9 holes is really hard to close on that back 9 if you've got all the pressure.
You have to go back to 1959, a gentleman by the name of Art Wall. He's the only player to win the Masters starting the final round outside the top 10. He was 6 shots back in that event in 13th place. And Jack Burke Jr. in 1956 holds the record for the final round comeback margin. That was 8 strokes back in 1956. He was in only 4th place, though. Keeping in mind this, Justin Rose, because we remember this last year, the whole drama with Rory. Justin Rose was 7 strokes back in the final round last year when he tied Rory to force the playoff. So that just shows you that even though it's been a long time, it can happen. And I guess you're most vulnerable when you're in one of those situations. Like it really all depends who's leading. It depends on what kind of pressure that leader is on. And we all know Rory was under just a godly amount of pressure last year.
Yeah, he was. And it's just, I feel like it deserves to win. He's been so close so many times, but you know, it's such an amazing part of your game because you actually have to hit the ball really high. And now they've lengthened the course over and over and over. So now you have to hit it long and high. And you've got to have a great short game because if you miss the greens, you've really got to know how to chip. And that's why someone like a Hovland is probably not as much favorite as he should be because we know that's probably one of his weakest parts of his game. And then you have someone like Adam Scott, who's an unbelievably great ball striker, but his putting sometimes is a little bit inconsistent.
Yeah, matter of fact, we're going to get into your one and done pick a little bit later on. And the player that you chose is matter of fact, he is number 1 right now on the PGA Tour around the green. Strokes gained around the greens. So yeah, I'm not sure if you knew that. So
I didn't. So that's interesting because he's really known for it.
Yep. And I like that pick as well. We're going to get into who that is in just a little bit. Let me pop up some of the key trends. I just went over a few of those, but those were for live wagering if you're interested in that. The last 12 first-time winners at Augusta National for the Masters ranked inside the top 30. The last 12 first-time winners made an average of 7.7 appearances. And again, that goes by what we just talked about, experience. And you have to go to 1979 when we look at Fuzzy Zoller's win. And, of course, that was the last player to win on his first appearance. And there are a few players like Chris Gotterup, a few really good players that are making their first appearance. But you have to keep that in mind when you are looking at players this week because it's very difficult to win. It's almost impossible to win on your first try, almost identically impossible even on your second try. I think Jordan Spieth did win on his second try. And I don't know if it was maybe was it Mike Weir? I forget. I have to look that up, who the other person was that won on their second try. Danny Willett. He did it back in 2016. So again, you got to get at least 4 or 5 appearances here to feel comfortable.
Right. And then Danny came from behind. And so that was kind of, only had the lead on the last 2 holes. So he didn't have all that pressure. He was just playing really well. And he was swinging great too at the time. But he didn't have to hold that pressure, which is so incredible. You know, everybody wants the Masters. It's just an unbelievable win.
Okay, now I want to ask you about key stats because fantasy golf is really huge. We talk a lot about that during the show on a weekly basis. And the thing about fantasy golf, everybody wants to know about key stats that are important for every golf course. And I want to go through some of these. These are considered some of the most important stats that you want to be keeping an eye on. And I want you to let us know which ones that you agree with or disagree with, or you might feel would be preferable over the others. Like, okay, because I'm going to give you about 5 or 6, and maybe you can at the end tell me which one or two that you would put at the top. Long iron stats, and I'm talking about 150 to 200 yards or 200 yards or more. How important are those stats?
They're very important because if they do happen to put the tees back forward where they used to be in some of those par fives, you're going to have long lines coming in. But then there's some really tough holes uphill, number 18 now that they've moved the tee back. It's a mid iron to a long iron. And if you miss the green there, it's really hard to get up and down. So my favorite for that, I think one of the best ball strikers to this day is Adam Scott. His iron play is brilliant, and he works really hard on it. And he works out a lot. He's really strong. And the other thing is you have to know how to play on hilly lies, because you don't ever get a flat lie coming into the green. So you have to know where you want to be on the green and how to hit out of those. Usually it's a left to right, right to left, uphill, downhill lies. And you have to really be good with your golf swing to do that.
All right. What about, and we just talked about it, so I know what you're going to say about this, strokes gained around the green.
Well, that definitely has got, short game is so important at Augusta National, depending on how fast they have the greens. Like number 9, if they have the green too quick and you've got too much spin on your second shot because you're only going to have a wedge in, you can suck it right back off the green like Greg Norman did years ago. It's really tricky. I remember playing Augusta National and I hit it. I was so scared of having it suck off the green. I hit it to the back of the green and then I 3-putted because it almost went back down the hill. So there's holes there where you really have to control your short game. And there's some people like a Xander who's a brilliant chipper. You've got Minwoo Lee is a great chipper. Jason Day is a fantastic short game around the greens. Those 3 are my 3 top picks.
Okay. And putting. Now, putting is specifically, if you're looking at overall stats, and again, you want to be a good putter. There's no question about it. But would you rather have a golfer that might be ranked 50th in the world overall in putting stats, but he's got more experience at Augusta Greens compared to someone who's ranked in the top 5 in putting stats that has minimal experience?
Oh, that's a good point. That's like you're saying about Goddard. I mean, Chris is a great ball striker, and he really fits the norm because he hits the ball long and high, which is what you want for Augusta. But his putting, he's knowing those greens, is huge. I mean, local knowledge is enormous at that golf course, more so than any of the others, because it's the one where you play it at the same time in the same place every single year. So you get those little things that that you may not even tell anyone when you're playing practice rounds. You just know, there's certain holes that you have to hit it and putt it in certain places. Then you're going to have to be a really good long putter because the greens are big. And some of the time you may not have a short putt, on number 2, for example, you rarely see a short putt for an eagle on number 2 if they reach it. They've got a long, long putt, but it's a key hole to make a birdie on. So, and same as 8. 8 is a really long putt hole that green. So you need to be able to 2-putt you need to be able to lag, and you need to be a really good 4 and 5 foot putter.
Par 5 scoring also going to be very important. And, Jan, it's interesting because I was looking over, I'm going to give you an example of, let me give you an example. Let's see which player I'll bring out. Let me bring out Tommy Fleetwood. And Tommy Fleetwood right now, of course, is not a power hitter off of the tee. But one of the things he's really good at, he's one of the better players on tour in par 5 scoring. So is that kind of what you would want to see from a player? If you're going to give him a shot to win here and you're not a power player, then maybe the fact that you're one of the top statistical players in par 5 scoring can compensate for that.
That's a good point, especially since they've made the par 5 so long that if you don't drive it in the right place, you can't reach the greens in 2 anymore. So, number 2, number 13 and number 15, they've made longer. 15, I think they ruined the hole. I hope they shorten it again. You talked about that last year. But in that's the case, and there's been some people that have won with a great wedge game on the par 5s and have laid up on all of them. They couldn't reach them in 2 because there is water involved in 13 and 15, as we know. So I definitely think that that's something that, and Tommy's playing really well right now, and I love his changes in his golf swing. I think that's one of the reasons he's hitting his irons so much better. I think he's definitely a contender because of that, the way that they've made the par 5s almost impossible for everybody.
Ball striking. Very important stat. Correct?
Yes. Yes. Short game is incredible.
Which stat out of the ones I talked about, long iron game, strokes gained around the greens, putting, ball striking, if you had to pick one to be the most important, what would it be?
Wow. That's a good question. Depends on the weather.
I checked the weather, and the weather is going to be nice. It's going to be ranging from, it's actually going to be a little cooler on Thursday, 73. Then it goes to 79, 85, and 85. And there is minimal wind. The windiest it's going to be will be on Thursday, 11 miles an hour average. The other 6 miles, 5 miles, 9 miles. And it'll be mostly sunny all 4 days. No precipitation.
Wow, that's great. Wow, the scores will be a little bit lower. And you're going to figure if the green's getting firmer in the afternoon than on the last 3 days that they'll be getting past. So they won't. That's great because that means that they're going to be consistent. And so then if that's the case, I'd probably do approaches to the green because they'll be able to get them close enough to make the putts.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Now, let's take a look at these players. And one of the things I also want to be able to do, I tell you what, one of these, I got to ask you about these stats because as a non-professional or really somebody who hasn't played in a while, you look at these numbers and you look at stats and that's all you can go on. You don't really have the feel for it. And then sometimes it confuses you a little. So I'm going to give you an example. Brooks Koepka is a good example here. So I was looking over his stats and we talked about the long iron game. Well, his stats, he's number one in the on the PGA Tour this year in 200 or higher for his iron game. He's also very good at 150, between 150 and 175. But he's statistically poor between 175 and 200. So explain, like, to a novice person how that could be. How can you be so good at 150 to 175 and 200 plus, but between 175 and 200, you're the complete opposite?
Well, he needs to get a new fairway wood. Looks like he needs a 7-wood or a 5-wood because, that means that on some of the par fives, he's not hitting a good second shot. But does that mean that he's driving it pretty well? And he's just kind of getting back into it. And it might be that when you're on the live tour that he was on for the last 3 years, you get aggressive, very aggressive, because you have to make birdies for the team. So I think he needs to work on that statistic. That's an interesting statistic because that's going to hurt his par five for sure. I don't even think there's any par fours that they've got 200 in very often anymore.
Okay, very interesting.
He might need a 7-wood or a hybrid.
Okay. All right. Let's break down the players now. Let me see if I can pop up. Let's see. I'm going to get the main group in here first on the screen. And so these, of course, are considered the favorites. And we have Scotty up there at 5-1. Of course, earlier this year, he was running at 3-1. And then all of a sudden, after a typical Scotty Scheffler start, something started to happen. He started to lose his game a little, even though, of course, he made every cut like he always does. So what do you know what happened to Scotty's game? Why do you think it went away for a while?
Well, I don't like when he starts fiddling with his golf swing with his coach, number one. I mean, he's got some unusual things in his swing, but they work every time, and he stripes it so well that I wouldn't be changing anything. Sometimes I see him changing things. They'll show it on, he's working out. I like his workout routine, but I don't like when they start fiddling with his golf swing. As you and I have talked about, there's some players that do that, and then they never really get it back.
Yes.
And his short game he's a wonderful chipper, but he's a great wedge player, but sometimes I've noticed him not hitting as good at chips this year than he has in the past. I mean, I've actually noticed a couple of chunks and things that he's never done before. Now, whether that's because of the change in his swing he was trying to work on, but I hope he goes back to not changing anything because he's such an unbelievable ball striker.
Okay. Also, we have DeChambeau and Rahm coming over red hot from Live. So hot that you had Rahm win one week, Bryson win the next week. Then they played each other in a playoff the following week with Bryson winning. So Bryson and Rahm are now finally coming into a big event looking better than they have, because John Rahm's done a lot of good results at the Live, but not a lot of winning. So that win seemed to be important. And same thing for Bryson. So that's why you got to think that both of these guys are going to be really good threats this week. Rahm already has a green jacket. Bryson does not. And Bryson, after, again, we talk about experience, the first several years Bryson was here, he really didn't perform very well. One top 25 in his first 7 appearances. But the last 2 years, he's finished 5th and 6th. And matter of fact, if you look at his scoring, he was a combined 23 over par in his first 7 appearances. Now he's a combined 9 under par in his last 2. So I think Bryson really looks like he is primed for a green jacket this week.
I do too. I think the fact that he's already won 2 U.S. Opens and it's a great golf course for him, because it is a little bit wider off the tee than most majors. I mean, when you go there, you're like, oh wow, you notice all the hills, but you also notice that it's a lot wider than you realize. There really isn't any rough. It's, it just goes from fairway to the pine straw and the trees, but they're pretty generous. And if I say anything about Bryson, is like he did at the Open a couple of years ago, he really started to, the PGA, he started to lose it left, and he did it last year. He started to lose his swing to the left, and you can do that there more than in any other major. So I look to both John and Bryson to have a good event.
Okay, yeah, Rahm has made all 9 cuts at this event with 3 top 5s and his win in 2023. Rory trying to defend his title at 12-1. We know how hard it is to defend anywhere. Now he's got to do it with the green jacket. I just can't imagine thinking that Rory is going to go out there and win back-to-back green jackets, but who knows? Maybe that the pressure's off. Maybe he'll have a really good week because he really likes playing, statistically speaking, this golf course.
Well, and I think that's what you said is true. The pressure's off for him now, because that was something he wanted for as long as I can remember. He blew it a few years ago, and he got over it, but it took him a while. And I think now that he's got the monkey off his back, but it is hard, as you know, I've talked about with defending major. You've got to do all the parties, you've got to do all the media, but he does anyway. So with the media, he's got a lot of work to do with them, because everybody wants an interview with Rory and what he thinks about things. So he's probably got a little bit extra than he normally does, but he knows the golf course, and he loves the fact that he's got great memories now. Every time he came there before, he was always thinking about the time he blew the tournament.
Yeah.
And so, now with this one, I think the pressure's probably definitely less than last year. So, and he's playing well. He's had a few. He hasn't played much, but he's played well, and he's definitely going to be one that's in contention. Depends on how he gets off in the start. On all of them, getting off to a bad start is really hard there, because you're seeing all the leaderboard, and it's so much pressure, and there's so many people, and it's hard. If he can get off to a good start, he can still win.
Yeah, check this out. 19 of the last 20 winners began the second round inside the top 12. And the only outlier breaking the streak of 19 straight was Rory last year.
Wow.
When he began round 2 in 27th place.
Wow. Yeah, that makes, I know whenever I was playing a major, and especially at Augusta National, getting, those first couple of holes, if you can par the first and birdie the second, it's a huge monkey off of that.
Okay, other players on this main group include 4 other really good candidates. Matthew Fitzpatrick and Cameron Young are coming off recent victories. Cam Young is all of a sudden now, with that Players win, the 3rd-ranked player in the world. Amazing that just a year ago, we had kind of forgotten about Cameron Young. He was not the same player that he was when he first came out, and we noticed him having this great success at these major events. But then all of a sudden he got the big win, got the maiden win late last year. And then he has the major TPC victory in his last outing. He's 18-1. So is Matthew Fitzpatrick, who's had a real strong season. Matter of fact, coming over from Europe, he was really playing well over there. That kind of got him going late last year overseas. And then he got off to an okay start here, but then he just started getting better and better and had a big win over at the Valspar to put himself in a good position confidence-wise heading into Augusta National. What do you think about Young and Fitzpatrick?
Well, I like Matt Fitzpatrick's game. I think he's got everything, like you said. I mean, he's been trending in the right direction for the last 6 events. And so when he won a Valspar, he broke through. I think, again, that takes a little bit of pressure off. And so I like Matt. I don't know that he's strong enough with his iron play on that golf course, but I always feel like he did what Valspar is very long. So Innisbrook is a long golf course, Copperhead, and he played really well there coming down the stretch. And so he's one of those players that can handle the pressure coming down the stretch. So he's definitely one. And as far as Cam Young is a really long hitter, which is good for the golf course for Augusta National. Sometimes his putting is a little bit questionable, and it depends on those greens because they're really tricky.
Yeah, it's interesting because Cameron has made the cut twice, missed it twice. Both times that he scored top 10s when he made the cut, he had come in from his previous event playing runner-up golf, if you can believe that, in both years. Now he's coming in after a win. So that could make him really dangerous this week. He's another one that's had mixed results with the irons. He's been really poor, 200 plus, but very good, 175 to 200. And on the flip side, Matthew Fitzpatrick, all of his stats, with the exception of maybe I notice his approach putting is off, but everything else, par fives, even the iron play, the long iron play, from 150 plus, 200 plus. The 200 plus it's been very good for Matthew Fitzpatrick statistically this season. He's also very good around the greens, and he's got elite ball striking stats as usual. So there's just, statistically speaking, I don't think there's a better player on tour this season other than maybe Colin Morikawa.
Wow, I didn't realize that he was doing that well. I mean, I knew he was doing well, but I didn't know his stats were that good. And he's definitely been working really hard on his swing. So, and I like the changes he's made.
Yeah, and keep in mind, Fitzpatrick, his best score ever here is 5 under par. He was 7th back in 2016. That's his best result. 2 top 10s, but he has made 10 of 11 cuts. And of course, that bodes well. Now, you got 2 other really good players here. I know you like Xander Schauffele a lot. He's 14-1. Ludwig Oberg is 16-1. And again, Oberg was 7th last year, 2nd in his first appearance. And Schauffele has got 5 top 10s in his career here with 2 top 5s and a runner-up. In his last 3 years, he's finished 8th, and 10th. Will Xander Schauffele be one of your top picks?
Yeah, he is. And, I don't really care for his golf swing, but his short game is brilliant. On that golf course, you've got to have a really good short game. And he's one of those players that, I don't want to say that people give up, but he's someone that can always hang in there no matter what. He can get off to a bad start. He's one of the few players I've seen get off to a bad start and hang in there. He'll come through in the end. I used to have him in my one and done, and he'd get off to a bad start and go, oh no, and then you'd see he'd barely make the cut, and then he'd come really good for the weekend. So he's one of those players that's always going to be around. He's definitely a top 10 every time.
And Oberg, what do you think about him coming in on his 3rd appearance?
Yeah, well, he has a good feel for it because he played so well last year. He was in contention coming down the stretch, and so he got a feel for what it's like to be in that contention. He hits the ball nice and high, which you have to do on that golf course. And he's coming in playing well. I wouldn't have picked him a few weeks ago, but I think he's over his wrist injury. And so both of those players had wrist injuries, and I think they're over.
All right. Now let's take a look at some of these top contenders, and let's just start off with Fleetwood because Tommy has made 8 out of 9 cuts here. He's got just 1 top 5, but he's also had a very good year statistically. We told you about he's elite in par 5 scoring. He's very good approach putting. He is number one on the PGA Tour in strokes gained around the green. And if you look at it too, overall, he's got 10 top 10s in his last 15 events worldwide, with 7 top 5s, a runner-up, and a couple of wins. We know he's a good ball striker. And more importantly, Jan, in his, if you take a look overall in his first 7 events, okay, he's got one top 25 in there. But in his last 2 years, he's got a 21st and a 3rd. And again, that just shows you that now it looks like Tommy's starting to get this golf course. And now that he's playing the best golf he ever has, I think he's a nice, even though he's 25-1, I think he's an under the radar pick.
I agree because he finished off the year so well, which was good for him because, he was another one like Cam Young with the pressure of having to win a tournament and didn't. And then when he did really well at the FedEx, and that just turned everything around. And I had liked one of the changes he'd been making. So his golf swing is good and solid, and he's a really good long putter. I've seen him make some fantastic lags, and I think that's a key at Augusta National.
Okay, let's see. Justin Rose is also on this list. As a matter of fact, I'm going to throw in some veterans here. Justin Rose is 30-1. Let's go. Adam Scott is 70-1, and Jason Day is 75-1. A couple of Aussies there at the end. All three have had really good experiences here. Of course, Justin's got 3 career runner-ups, and we all know what happened to him last year. That's his second playoff loss at the Masters. And I've been talking all year on this show about how much I like Adam Scott to win a major this year. He's made 21 of 24 cuts at Augusta National with 13 top 30s, 5 top 5s, a runner-up, and a win. And even though he has not had a top 10 in his last 8 appearances here, including missing the cut last year, his statistics overall are better than I have seen Adam Scott at this time of year in a long time. And I think because of that, I'm willing to forgive the putting because he has experience putting at these greens. And I think that's the kind of difference you need, that if he's in contention for a win, I think that might suit him really well.
I agree. And, I was talking to his uncle actually here at Gold Coast a few weeks ago, and he was heading over there with him and his father. We're going over to play on the weekend before the Augusta with Adam, and they said it's just the most dedicated and focused they've seen Adam in a long time. And that he said, I don't care if I don't win another PGA event, but I want to win one more major. So he really wants it. He's been working really hard. So he's definitely a sleeper. And like you said about his putting, I mean, he knows the golf course well. He knows the mistakes you could make on the greens. And so I'm hoping that he has a good, he's a bit of a streaky putter, but he's also can be really good. So like you said, if he's confident, he's playing well, and he wants this, I think it'll be interesting. I think he's definitely going to be a top 10. Yeah,
Rose, just so you know, if you're looking at a player that's struggling recently coming into form at this event, as far as experience over the last few years, Justin Rose, before last year's runner-up, had a 13 over par score in his previous 3 Augusta National trips, and then he shows you the runner-up. So it's because he knows the course. He's had real good experience here before, and I think the same might bode well for Adam Scott this week. And quickly, because I've told my viewers I think you should put money on Adam Scott across the board on every major, because he's about 100-1 on every major, which is incredible. The odds have gone down to 70-1 this week, and that's natural because he's won here before and so forth. But if you had to pick another major out of the other 3 for Adam Scott to win, which one would you favor him? Would it be the Open Championship?
That one would probably be one he would want, but I think the PGA. I really think the PGA is a good one for him.
All right. And what about the golf course? You think that's okay for him as far as...
it's a perfect golf course for him. All of them are, because he's such a beautiful ball striker and he hits the ball high, and you really have to be able to do that because of the majors. They have the greens very firm. Okay.
Now, and what do you think about Rose's chances this year to come back after a runner-up last year? That's kind of difficult to do.
I mean, as great as he's played, and I really care for the guy, is a wonderful golfer and a wonderful person. I don't know that he's going to be. Those guys are gunning for him. There's some pretty strong competition, I think, this year.
Okay, another player I wanted to bring up. Matter of fact, one of our viewers asked Dario Vasquez. He wants to know Patrick Reed is top 20 a good bet.
Well, the one thing I can say about the live players that they've got something to prove, and they're even talking about having some 4-day events of their own for their own majors, so that they can show that, because that's the one thing the players miss is playing 4-day events, and all of them have been playing really well. This is the first year I've seen them all playing really well. It's like, okay, they've settled into live, and now they've got something to prove.
Yeah, I thought that was a really good job, actually, by Liv to have them go to 4 rounds. Now they're on the rankings and all that kind of stuff. So that helps. Okay, Minwoo Lee. He's another player that I noticed that you like. And I actually think he's a really good play as well, because he's got really the type of game that works really well, or should work really well here at Augusta National. He just needs more experience.
Well, and I think he's got that now, because he's playing a practice round with all the Aussies. So he's playing with JC Day and Adam. So they're going to give him a few tips of things that they, like number 12, that I think he may not know about, and he is playing well. And that's really important if you're playing well coming into a major, especially here. If you don't want to be fiddling with your swing with your coach when you're trying to win a major. So he's playing well, and he's got a fantastic short game. Him and Jason Day have unbelievable around the greens.
Another player that I know that you like this week is Robert McIntyre, coming off the near win just yesterday. Looks like he had a stranglehold of that event. Then kind of just, I don't know whether look ahead to the Masters, whatever, but didn't have a great weekend. And JJ Spawn came back to win an event that's very, very impossible to come back and win from at the Texas Open for whatever reason. But you like McIntyre this week?
I do. I think the left-handed helps. It's good for the golf course, because they're always concerned with where they're going to put the flags, the pin positions stay the same every single year and every single day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So you know where they are, so you can work on that part of it. And I don't think it hurts that he hasn't played it that often, because he's playing so well. And I like the fact that he's left-handed, so he can handle some of those hills better.
What do you think about Brooks Koepka's shot this week? Too early, or do you think that this is because we all know Brooks gets up for the big ones, and now that he's back on the PGA Tour and he seems to be playing a lot better than he did in his first few events, do you think at a very generous 45-1 that he would be a good play?
No, I don't. I don't think he's ready. I think next the PGA maybe, but I don't think he's ready.
I'm going to show everybody the long shots. This is the last group here. And out of these players here, let me see. I know one of the players, let's see, I don't think I have him on the board here, but you like him as a long shot, and that's Sam Burns. Sam Burns is 100-1 this week. So why do you like Burns?
Can we have a break?
You need a break? Sure. Go right ahead. No, okay. It's live. I'll stay on. You just tell me when you need to come back, and I can keep talking. All right. So Jan's going to take a break, and let me go over some of these other, because I just popped that up. Let me pop back up the board there for some of those long shots. All right. So there. Let me get Jan out of there. Okay. So there you've got, of course, Spawn won the event last week. And then Hatton is the one I think is interesting in my mind. If you look at Tyrrell Hatton, he's played really well here the last couple of years. He's finished 14th last year and 9th before that. So Hatton's another player that is just getting more and more experience. And the more and more experience he gets, just like any other player here at Augusta National, he's going to start doing better. So he would be somebody that I would definitely keep an eye on. Matter of fact, I think I might have him for, let's see. I don't know if I have it here. Let me pop up. I already put together my DFS picks this week. Of course, it's Monday, so I could definitely change them. But I wanted to put something together for this before the show, as I usually do every week. And Tyrrell Hatton, I'm pretty sure I have Hatton in my lineup to begin with. Let me just see if I can get it over here. Okay, so let's see. Here's my lineup right here.
You see me?
I can see you and hear you.
Is it too high?
No, actually, hold on one second. Let me get this out of the way. No, that looks good.
Sit up.
I needed to sit down. I was standing that whole time.
I figured that would get to you eventually. Just let me know when you're ready, Jan.
Okay, don't have much left to go anyway, do we?
No, just about another 10 minutes at max. Yeah, I'm just showing everybody my fantasy lineup this week. So there it is. Again, I've got Tyrrell Hatton in there to save some money at 8,100. I've got Minwoo Lee, Jason Day, Adam Scott, Patrick Reed, and Bryson DeChambeau. So that's going to be my lineup this week. And again, in order to, that's my top player, obviously, DeChambeau. But again, I think Hatton is a nice bargain player. And here's all these bargain players here. It's in the 7,000s. Adam Scott, Jason Day, and Minwoo Lee. So that's what my fantasy lineup looks like this week. And Jan, are you ready to go?
I'm ready.
All right, Jan. So let's talk about that long shot, Sam Burns. Why do you like Burns this week at 100 to 1?
Well, number one, he should have won the U.S. Open last year, even though I like J.J. Spillane. I think that he let it upset him when he got that bad ruling. And he hits the ball right to left, which on that golf course at Augusta National, it's a big favorite because you can get over the hills and it releases. And he's got a great short game. So he's one of those ones, if he gets off to a decent start, he's a sleeper.
And you also like Jake Knapp, who does not have a lot of experience here. I think he's only played here once before, and he did not have a very good showing. So why do you like Jake Knapp this week?
Because he hits the ball really high. And as everybody knows, you've got to hit the ball with a lot of elevation. And he hits it long. And it's a golf course where you can hit it crooked and get away with it. So if he hits it crooked on the right hole, it doesn't matter.
Okay. So in wrapping up, again, Xander Schauffele, is he going to be your top overall pick?
Probably, which is amazing because I don't really care for his golf swing, but I love his short game and his attitude. So he's probably, I think him and I still like Rory. I think Rory can come back.
Wow, that would be amazing. That sure would be something. And Adam Scott and Burns, I would guess those would be your top two long shots.
Yep, definitely.
And then you have your one and done. Give everybody your one and done pick this week.
Probably Xander.
Oh, okay.
I still like Bryson. I think Bryson can do it this week.
And I also noticed that you had Tommy Fleetwood in there.
I know.
Well, you've got some decisions to make.
After hearing all your stats, I changed my mind.
I know. And it's only Monday night, Eastern time. All right, Jan. Well, I really appreciate this again. I mean, the view is awesome. You're awesome. When are you going to come back to the States?
Next weekend. I'll get back.
All right. Well, maybe when we talk again, we'll be able to maybe get an opportunity to talk about the PGA Championship up next. And again, thanks a lot for your time as always, Jan.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye,
Thank you, Jan. Appreciate it. That's Jan Stephenson from Australia. Wow. That's awesome. We got an opportunity to talk to a Hall of Fame golfer live from her own backyard and give us information on a whole bunch of different ways, perspectives, different stats that you need to be keeping an eye on seriously. And that's really great. So again, I'm not sure. I think we have another month before we have another major, but I'm looking forward to having Jan on whenever we do have a major here. And I want to ask her to pop down at the local beach in South Florida when I talk to her again. But I know the schedule, of course, on the PGA Tour is a little crazy because we have the RBC Heritage coming up right after the Masters. So that is a signature event So just keep that in mind, that even though when you're doing your one and dones, remember, it is crazy, but big money awaits you the week after the Masters. So you'll have to keep an eye on Hilton Head as another location where there's going to be some big money out there. Justin Thomas was the winner last year. Then they have that team deal in New Orleans, which I despise. And, wouldn't you think it would make more sense to have the team event after the Masters so everybody could take like a week off and then go and play at the RBC Heritage in another, gazillion dollar event? But whatever. That's what they're doing. They're going to go RBC Heritage signature event, then team. Then we go to another signature event. That's the Cadillac Championship. The Blue Monster's back. That's awesome. Can't wait to talk about that. That's at the end of April, beginning of May. And then, believe it or not, the very next week, what do we have the very next week? Is that also a signature event? Yes, it is at Quail Hollow. I mean, this is just amazing. This is like just an incredible time of year to follow golf. So we have another one at the Truist Championship at Quail Hollow. That used to be the Wells Fargo. And then after that, you have a small event at Myrtle Beach. Then comes the PGA Championship. That's in Pennsylvania. So, and then after that, you have another couple of weeks of regular events before you get a signature event, Canada, and the US Open. Then after that, you get another signature event, the John Deere, the Scottish Open, and then the Open Championship. So it's a really great time of year to be following golf. And there's so many great events out there, but that's why you have to keep an eye. I mean, again, I have 2 one and done accounts. I don't know how many Jan has. It seems like she has one. And having multiple accounts, I just think is so much better because just like she talked about, I mean, I got screwed that week with Morikawa. I also got screwed with Rory the very next week. And there's nothing you could do about it, right? But at least you have like that other second one. And that's why I think having a second one is a pretty good idea. So I'm going to go over my picks here. Let me see if I can pop them up. My official picks this week. So let's see where they are. Here they are. Okay, so these are my picks this week. And I'm going there with DeChambeau as my top choice. Oberg is next. There's Fleetwood, Rose, and Scott. And look, I've been talking about Rose and Scott all year as far as the Masters and majors. Now, the big difference, of course, is that Rose, you're getting somewhere. I think this is the lowest number you're getting on Rose for a major. See if I can check out what he is for the PGA. Well, actually, yeah, I think I do have that. See if I can pop it up here. PGA Championship. Let's see where Justin is. 45-1. Yeah, that's how he's going to be at a lot of these other events, these other majors. So the shortest number you're getting is here at Augusta. And, I get it. See, there's Adam at 120-1. I'm telling you, I just think it's a great bet to take Adam Scott in all 4 majors. I've been saying that all year, and I hope he comes through for me. But Jan gave you the reason why. And I've, I remember talking with Jan about this last year. And this was already in my mind from our conversations. I just never expected that he was going to get off to such a great start. You can have that frame of mind that you're now going to have your personal time. See, that was the thing with Adam. He had the family, the kids were still young, and there was a lot going on. But now the kids are older. There's a lot less stress in his personal life, positive stress in his personal life. And now he knows he only has a few years left at the prime of his playing career to go out there and win another major. And that's exactly what he's trying to do. And that's what I want. I want a player that's won a major before and that is dialed in to do it again and is playing statistically as good as he's played in a long time. I think that's a win-win. Now he just has to go out there and win. That's the hard part. So anyway, that's one of the reasons why that even if Justin doesn't do it this week, I think he's a pretty good play as well for some of the other majors. Now, I will say, as far as some of the other players that I was looking at, normally we have more time to go over this. And look, I'm going to have this may be as good a time as any, and I'll update you guys more on this when we return in next week. And that is that my schedule is going to change. So unfortunately, we just don't get the viewership that I'd want to get here for our golf coverage. And that's a shame because, I mean, I could have Jan Stephenson here every week, but we just don't get the viewership. So because of that, and I'm going to be switching over to more football content. Instead of me doing that 50% of the time, I'm going to be doing that 90% of the time. So I'll continue to do the golf shows every Monday. That's probably going to remain the same if unless something happens with the schedule. But instead of doing 45 minutes to an hour shows, it's going to wind up being like a 5-10 minute show. That's it. I'm just going to come out there. I'm going to give you the picks, go over the fantasy, and maybe just show you the some of the templates, have some of the key trends to keep an eye on, live betting options, just all that stuff in and out. And there you go. And then, of course, whenever we get an opportunity to talk about a major, hopefully I'll be able to get Jan on, and then we'll do this for a good hour. Okay. So let me just see other players that I was looking at that you do not see there on the board. Let's see. Who else did I like that I was interested in? You know, Goddard it does look like his game is tailor-made for this golf course. And I do like the fact that he's 50-1 because that's where I think it should be. But to bet on someone that's never played this before, I just can't do it. But you know, if anybody wanted to do it, more power to you. Okay, who else? And look, I do like Patrick Reed. I really do. I know Dario brings that question up for top 20. I say top 10, Dario. Top 10. I mean, Patrick Reed got off to such an amazing start in the DP World Tour this year. I mean, he really looked good. And you just couldn't keep it up. But he really looked good. So just like we're seeing with Rahm and DeChambeau, Reed, not on Live, because now he's doing it over in Europe before he returns here full-time to the PGA Tour. Check this out. Reed has 6 top 15s in his last 8 at the Masters with 3 top 5s and a win. His last 3 years, Dario, he's finished 3rd, 12th, and 4th. So absolutely, I like Patrick Reed. Definitely top 20. I say go all the way for top 5 or even a win. The win is going to be a little bit more difficult because there's so many other players to choose from, and he already has a green jacket. But, hey, I'd go for a whole bunch of other things. Okay. Who else do I like? Again, I like Minwoo. You know, I've liked Minwoo all year. And if you look at his game this year, it's been really, really good. Matter of fact, he's very good around the greens. That's very important. Very good ball striker. Has the power we're looking for. So, yeah, there is a lot to like about Minwoo in this one this week. And also keep in mind that even though Minwoo does not have a whole lot of positive experience here, he's played here 4 times. He does have 2 top 25s and 1 top 15, but he's got a combined 18 over par, and he's never finished under par ever here in any given event. But remember this. And again, we talked about experience. Patrick Reed, before he won his first green jacket, he was a combined 27 over par with his best finish 22nd. So again, it's more about experience than it is, you've got to have a good result here at Augusta National to win here. No, you know what you have to have? Top 35. You get 1 top 35, that's all you need. Statistically speaking, that's all you need is a top 35. You do that, you're fine. If you don't do that, I will tell you, forget it. I wouldn't take anybody if you don't have a top 35 or if you haven't played here before. But Minwoo has a lot going for him. He's also one of the best par 5 scorers out there. So, yeah, I think he's a really solid choice. The only thing I don't like are his early odds this week. They're 35-1. I want a little bit better than that. And I think I might be able to get a little more than that by Wednesday. Okay, who else? Anybody else that we did not talk about? I mentioned Jason Day because Day is actually starting to play better. If you look at it, he's trending in the right direction, coming off his first top 10 in a while, an 8th place finish. He's also been really good with his iron game, 175 or more, 150 or more. The one thing that's holding him back is really, this is the combination you don't want to see. Jason, like Tommy Fleetwood, not a power player, but we talked about Tommy Fleetwood makes that up for really good par 5 scoring. Jason hasn't been able to do that. That's the problem. But what I'm looking for with Jason is, who's really good around the greens and good with the irons, is the experience. He's really good here. Horse for courses does matter. He has 10 top 30s and 14 appearances with 3 top 5s and a runner-up. And so you're looking at someone who's never got a green jacket before. And he definitely, if he's able to do it, nobody's going to be surprised based on his resume. I told you about Tyrrell Hatton. I think he's also somebody to keep an eye on based on the way he's played recently. I think Daniel Berger is not a bad long shot either. He's 150 to 1 right now. And he was 21st last year. He has 1 top 10 out of 6. He also, if you take a look at it, he's been one of the better iron players all year, from 150 up, 175 up, and 200 or more. Not a lot of players have been as good as Daniel in all 3 categories, but he has. The one thing that's holding him back is around the green play has not been good. That's the big issue for Daniel Berger. But the iron game, he's got good par 5 scoring. He's a really good ball striker, elite ball striker. And he does have decent enough experience here and good results here. So, and you're getting 150 to 1. So anyway, and check out Max Homa. Maybe he's somebody you want to take a look at for a top 20 bet, because he's 150 to 1. And in his first 4 appearances, he's a combined 25 over par with 2 missed cuts. In his last 2 appearances, and it's not like he's played his best golf in the last couple of years, he's got a 3rd place finish and a 12th place finish, and he scored 4 under par in both appearances. So Max Homa may be a pretty good top 20 pick for a long shot. You know, another player that I think would have been a really good play if he was playing well would be Cameron Smith. I think Cameron Smith, if he gets his game going again, and I don't know if he's ever going to get it going at Live, maybe he'll have to come back to the States to do it. But if he were to get hot on Live maybe one of these years prior to playing the Masters, he'd be an easy pick, because I think Cameron Smith, as long as he plays another 15 years of quality golf, he'll win a green jacket. I mean, this is a really good golf course for him. So, it's just, I just can't bet on the guy right now. He's just not playing anywhere near the level of play when he was still playing here in the States. And that's unfortunate, but hey, you're not going to cry for Cameron Smith because you took the money. Sungjae Im, who faltered at the Valspar a few weeks ago, has got some really good results here. He's played here 6 times. He's got 3 top 10s, 2 top 5s, and a runner-up. He is 100 to 1. And a player you need to keep an eye on, just because you may not have ever heard about him before. He's coming over from the DP World Tour, Casey Jarvis. He's a South African. He's only 22 years old. And in his last 10 events over in Europe, he has 7 top 15s, 4 top 5s, a runner-up, and 2 wins. That's what kind of run he's on. Also, before that run, he was playing in the Sunshine Tour and won 2 events there. So he's playing great golf. He went from the 378th player in the world before all of this started to the 69th player in the world. Another player you want to keep an eye on who's not playing this week is Jaden Shaper. He's another player. We've mentioned him on the show before. But yeah, it would have been nice to see him this week, because he's actually right now, if you had to look at it, and we'll get around to talking about him maybe the next time with Jan. He might be the best player on that tour, the DP World Tour, the next best player that's going to come over here to the States soon and make a name for himself. So, all right. And then let's wrap up with the one and done picks. So there you go. Those are my official picks. Bryson and Adam Scott. And I'm going to have to admit this because I'm going to roll the dice for the first time all year in my group one. I have tried to be very, very, no, I'm not taking any chances. I'm just putting who I think is the best player that week on my group one. And my group two will be, his best players. And then sometimes I'm going to, think outside the box. And sure enough, my group one is in decent position considering I've had those withdrawals. And my second group has been terrible. My second group's done nothing. Even though last week was the first time I had a miscut in either group, even the group, second group that hasn't done anything. So I have Bryson left in both groups, but I only have Adam left in one group, and that's my top group. And I just went ahead. Look, it's Monday night. I might change my mind and be a coward, but I just decided, you know what? I'm going for it. Just screw it. Because again, I think Adam, the way I look at it, I'm betting him already on all four majors. So if he wins any of them, I'm in good shape financially. But I just figured nobody's going to pick him this week. And why not? I'm going to go for it. Because I do have Bryson in my normally, because I would have had Adam in the group B and Bryson in group A. So either way, I'd win. And look, even if you get off to a slow start in one of your groups, I just went over before how many big events are coming up. Signature events, majors. Now, sure, it's very difficult. Let's say there's about 7 of them left because it sounded like it. There might even be 8. So let's say you have all these big events coming up. That's a lot of opportunity to win. So what if I were to win 4 of the next 9? Again, unlikely, but if you're going to win one of these contests, that's sometimes what you have to do. So if that's the case, then even group B, that's off to a slow start with only 1 missed cut, hey, I got a chance. I just got to get a win. I got to get it started. So anyway, that's I just decided to go for it, and we'll see if it pays off. I certainly hope so. But look, Thursday is probably going to mean everything because I was giving you those stats. For anybody out there also that's live wagering, keep this in mind, some more stuff. Only 2 winners in the last 20 ended the first round more than 4 shots back, just 2 of 20. Rory last year, 7 shots back, and Sergio, 6 shots back. Now, just imagine this if you're Justin Rose. You've been a runner-up playoff loser twice. And it happened to be against Rory and Sergio. So just imagine that. Not only do you lose in a playoff where 1 stroke matters, but you lose to 2 players that were outliers in the last 20 years that did things that no other golfer was doing during that last 20 years, coming from behind to get to the playoff. So if Sergio and Rory did what all the other players did those last 20 years, hey, if you get off to a slow start, you're not going to win. Justin would have 2 green jackets. Just imagine that. Since the first Masters in 1934, only 6 winners, 6, that's it, ended their first round outside the top 20. And Rory, of course, being one of them. And no player has ever won the Masters 34th or higher after the first round. So if you're a player, if you've got a player that you're interested in, he's off to a slow start, and you look and he's 35th, just forget it. Do something else. And then the player who won with the worst first round position, big surprise, Tiger Woods. He was 33rd in 2005, 7 strokes back after round 1. And Rory, along with Nick Faldo, who did it in 1990, they share the record at 7 strokes back after round 1. So it's Tiger, Rory, Nick, 7 strokes back after round 1. And that's the type of player it's going to take. So if you're 7 strokes back, well, let's say you are in 35th, 7 strokes back. Just make sure it's Scotty Scheffler. Just make sure it's someone like that. And then, sure, I might even do it if you're going to get the right odds. That's the problem. You got to get the right odds, because sometimes you'll see Scotty Scheffler 8 strokes back, 35th at the Masters. It's never been done before, and he's still like 20-1 or something. It's like, give me a break, man. Give me some value, please. Okay, I don't think I mentioned after the second round live trends, but 7 of the last 12 winners ended the second round with the lead. The last 38 winners started the third round in the top 12, and 30 of the last 38 in the top 4. All right, but all 38 straight in the top 12. So just make sure you go into the weekend, you are in the top 12. And the last 14 winners were all within 4 shots of the lead after the second round. Rory was 2 back last year. I think I might have talked about that before. So there you go. I think we've just flooded you guys with as much information as possible. And then there you go. Just one more time, it's going to pop up. This is the way I put it together for at least tonight. Other possibilities here that I would look at as far as some bargains. Let's see. Corey Connors actually does not have a bad statistical record here. And he's one of these guys that is really not a bad fantasy guy to take a look at, because he's so consistent. And let me see if I can get exactly. He's got 50% of his appearances were in the top 10. And he was 8th last year. So Corey is not a bad fantasy player. I mentioned Sung Jae Im, also 50% of the time he's in the top 10. I think Nikolai Højgaard is going to take to Augusta National. I really do. I just think it's too early. But coming off the strong effort a couple of weeks ago in Houston, and then he decided to skip Texas last week, hey, why not take a look at Nikolai at 70-1? He's played here 2 times. He does have 1 top 20. So Nikolai may not be a bad fantasy play here at 7,500. There's Burns. Okay, Jan likes Burns at 74. Jan likes Knapp at 7,400. I mentioned Homa. He's at 7,300. Oh, by the way, Gary Woodland has a terrible history here. Absolutely terrible. So if you're thinking about taking Gary, I probably wouldn't. Where are his numbers? Boy, they're really bad, by the way, wherever they are. Probably shouldn't even waste my time looking at them. Gary Woodland. I guess my paperwork's all over the place right now. 7 missed cuts in 12 appearances. And he's never had a top 10. Okay, there's Spawn coming off the win. Clark has not been good here. He's only played here a couple times. Mentioned Berger. Okay, I don't have him, but look, it's Monday night. I'm sure I'm going to think hard about potential options. So I would definitely think about Berger again at 7,100. Let's see. Anybody else down here that looks interesting? There's that Jarvis I mentioned. Man, not really. And this is not a surprise. Yeah, once you get back down here, just forget it. No way. So I would, for me, Berger would be my cheapest, best option at 7,100. And then I probably have to look at this group here. Knapp, Burns, and Højgaard. So those are the other options to keep an eye on as far as the salary cap at DFS DraftKings. And that will wrap it up for our Masters coverage here on ProLine. Don't forget to do us a favor and like and share. Yeah, we're getting real creative here. And we're going to be back again for more sports coverage and Masters coverage tomorrow. That's going to be on the Jim Feist handicapping show. So that will air at 1 o'clock Eastern. And actually, is it 1 o'clock or is it 3 o'clock? 3 o'clock Eastern. I'll double check that, but it'll be tomorrow in the afternoon. I have to double check what time it is, either 1 or 3. I think it's 3 Eastern. But anyway, it's tomorrow afternoon, and we are going to have a special guest who is going to join us and join Jim for sure to do nothing but talk about the Masters. So that's going to be tomorrow afternoon before our NASCAR coverage. Our NASCAR coverage resumes after the week off. CJ Radoon from RotoWire will join me. That'll be at 4 Eastern. Later in the week, we will talk more. No more basketball, of course. I've got the big game going on tonight. But we've got, what do we have later this week? Course racing. We still have some big racing going on. Next month is the Kentucky Derby. So we'll have that on Thursday. And then we've got a lot of football to talk about, as I said just a little while ago. So that means that you're going to have to move over exclusively to the RLads site for our football coverage that you were seeing here. See, normally you would see it start at ProLine and get partnered over at RLads. Now it's going to be all exclusively at RLads, like it was before I joined ProLine a couple years ago. So again, that's what I'm saying. All the football stuff is going to consume all of my time, and that'll be over at the RLads Football Network. The draft is coming up in a few weeks. But again, we're going to talk football here on ProLine, just like we always have, especially with the season coming up, college football, NFL. But Playbook ATS podcast with Mark Lawrence, he's going to be very busy for the next couple of months getting the yearly football magazine going. So just like last year, I'm going to sit in for Mark probably quite a bit over the next couple of months. And when I do that, we're going to talk a lot of football. So there's still a lot of football to be talked about. Don't worry about that here at ProLine TV. And that'll wrap it up. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments for me or Jan, let us know. And we'll see you again next week when we talk about a signature event at the RBC Heritage. And yeah, good luck, man. And you know what? Tune in potentially later this week, because last year we did talk to you. I think it was on Friday night. We came on, we did a bonus show because we had so much going on with Rory and everything else. So now I'm not going to bother Jan again in Australia, but if something comes up and there's something compelling going on after the first couple of days at the Masters, there's a possibility that on Friday night, maybe we'll do a Masters update, go over some live wagering, take a look at the odds and all that other stuff, and get you ready for the weekend. So that's possible. That's why you want to subscribe to the channel, because you never know when we're going to have bonus shows outside, of course, regular programming. All right. Anyway, thanks a lot. Once again, we'll see you again real soon.